In the headlines, troops comb proscribed indigenous people of Biafra Eastern Security Network camp, arrest fighter and recover arms in Delta State. Court fixes July 25th for suspended Central Bank of Nigeria Governor Godwin Emefiele's trial over illegal firearms possession. Restaurant operators in Gombe struggle for patronage amid rising food prices. And on the foreign scene, rockets in Sudan's Darfur kill 16 civilians. Hello and welcome to Trust TV News Update. I am Sumaya Abubakar. Thank you for joining us. Now the news in full. We begin with security. Now, members of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, the IPOB, in the early hours of Saturday fled their various camps in some forest in Asaba, Delta State capital, following a joint raid conducted by troops of the Nigerian military and the operatives of the Department of State Services, the DSS. According to the Nigerian Army, the troops attached to the 63 Brigade Garrison under the 6th Division of Nigerian Army and the operatives of DSS engaged in the terrorists and arrested one of the fighters alive during a gun duel. Giving an update on Saturday in Abuja, the spokesman of the Nigerian Army, Onyema Nwachukwu, disclosed that some assorted weapons were recovered from their enclaves. Nwachukwu listed the ammunition recovered as 5 AK-47 rifles, 3 pump-action semi-automatic rifles, 1 G3 rifle, 1 single-barrel gun, live cartridges, electric saw, machetes, and an axe and IPOB flag. He noted that the Chief of Army Staff, Major General Taoreed Lagbaja, ordered that those threatening the peace of the country should not be treated with kid gloves. The Army spokesman said Lagbaja commended the troops and other security agencies for their efforts in the ongoing operations, charging them to sustain the momentum and, to restore sanity in the region. The troops of the Operation Hadarindaji deployed at Forward Operating Base Faru community in Maradun local government area of Zamfara State have neutralized 4 suspected terrorists after a fire encounter. The troops, upon receiving credible information on terrorists' intent to attack Bagabuzu villages, swiftly mobilized to the general area and engaged the suspected terrorists in a gun duel and denied them access to the villages. During the encounter, 4 of the suspected terrorists were neutralized while others escaped with gunshot wounds. The troops recovered 1 general purpose machine gun, 1 FN rifle and 123 rounds of special ammunition from the terrorists after repelling the attacks on the villages. The general officer commanding 8th Division of the Nigerian Army Sokoto and Commander Joint Task Force Northwest Operation Hadarindaji, Major General Godwin Motkut, commended the troops for resilience, gallantry and sustained onslaught against the terrorists in the zone. He called on the public to support the troops with vital information that could lead the troops to the hideouts of the terrorists to proactively flush them out of the Northwest Zone and Nigeria at large. Now, hundreds of bags of maize and locally processed rice and other items worth millions of naira were on Friday night stolen from a warehouse by youths in Jalingo, the Taraba state capital. The youths were said to have stormed the warehouse located not far from the 6th Army Brigade and looted it. The warehouse belonged to Jugulde, a one-time member of the State House of Assembly and immediate past chairman of Sardona local government area. One of the guards at the warehouse, who would not like his name mentioned, told Daily Trust that when the youths started gathering at the warehouse at about 11:50 p.m., the army and police were alerted. He said before the arrival of the security agents, the youths had already broken into the warehouse and started looting. The guard further stated that the security agents on arrival fired shots into the air to disperse the looters, and in the process 2 people were shot. The police in the state are yet to issue a statement on this incident. A former governor of Delta State, James Ibori, has vowed to appeal a United Kingdom court ruling on Friday ordering a confiscation of $101.5 million or pounds linked to him. Delivering the confiscation order, Judge David Tomlinson of the Southwark Crown Court said Ibori should pay the sum immediately or face an 8-year jail sentence. Reacting to the ruling on his Facebook page, Ibori said that he would appeal against the confiscation order, one of the largest imposed on an individual in recent British legal history. The ex-Delta governor said despite some of the most logic-defying rulings against him, he still believed that justice and fairness will eventually triumph, while acknowledging that he has accepted his fate despite the inability of the British prosecutors to show any evidence whatsoever on monies defrauded or indeed missing from Delta State. Ibori insisted that he would appeal the ruling. The suspended governor of Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, will be arraigned before the Federal High Court in Lagos on July 25th on 2 counts of illegal possession of firearms and ammunition. One of his lawyers, Victor Okpara San, confirmed that hearing notices to that effect have been sent out by the courts to counsels involved in the matter. He also confirmed that a senior advocate of Nigeria and former president of the Nigerian Bar Association, Joseph Daudu, will personally be in court to lead the defendants' team. Emefiele will be arraigned before the vacation judge, Justice Nicholas Owebo. The federal government in the charge sheet accused Emefiele of possessing a single-barrel shotgun without a license. The government maintained that the offense is contrary to Section 4 of the Firearms Act, Cap F28 laws of the Federation 2004, and punishable under Section 27(1)(b) of the same act. In the second count, the suspended CBN governor was accused of having in his possession 123 rounds of live ammunition without a license, which is contrary to Section 8 of the Firearms Act, Cap F28 laws of the Federation 2004, and punishable under Section 27(1)(b) IL of the same act. Now, amidst rising food prices, restaurant operators in Gombe State struggle to sustain their business in the wake of high cost of production and low turnout of customers. A restaurant owner, Ann Ahmed, told Trust TV that she is running her eatery just to remain in business, but not for making profit. Take a look.
It's late hours of the day. Restaurant manager Ann Ahmed is taking her phone at a time when she should have been busy with customers. This is the consequences of rising food prices, which left many Nigerians hungry.
For now, there is no any profit, but before there is a little achievement on it because of the price. Before you have to be some things like this pepper and the things that we used to make soup with it is too cheap before, but now it's cost.
Consumers who patronize this place now pay more for the food on the menu, just as they strive to survive rising cost of living in the country. Price of food has skyrocketed. A plate that cost 300 naira sells 500 naira now, and the quantity has been reduced. Life is difficult. We can't do anything but seek Allah's intervention. As it stands, many restaurant operators like Anne struggle to stay in the business when she is supposed to count profit.
Before we used to buy rice at 25,000, now it's getting to 40,000. And the customers are complaining food is too cost. So we are just managing how to sell food, and we did not increase any amount of the food. We are selling it as normal as the price is before.
Nigerians are feeling the negative impact of high cost of living, and the country's inflation rate reportedly hit 22.79% in June 2023, the highest since September of 2005. Ibrahim Ismail, Trust TV News, Gombe.
A Small and Medium Enterprises Development Agency of Nigeria, SMEDEN, says that the prospect for small businesses in Nigeria are still bright as they look into schemes and initiatives that will help mitigate the impact of fuel subsidy removal. Director General of the agency, Olawale Fasonya, said this in an interview with Trust TV's Chairman Dabeng. The report.
The recent fuel price increase from 195 to 540 and lately 617 naira per litre has not only put a dent on the purchasing power of Nigerians, but has further put a strain on struggling SMEs in the country. Businesses have been forced on multiple occasions to review their prices upwards in order to meet up with Nigeria's harsh economic realities. Amidst their expected struggles, the Director General of the Small and Medium Enterprises Development Agency of Nigeria, SMEDEN, Olawale Fasonya, encouraged entrepreneurs to stay steadfast and employ innovation.
You have to come together so that if you are sourcing raw materials together, it means you achieve economy of scale. If you are sourcing markets together, it means that you will be able to now, somebody wants to outsource 100 products. You don't have to be the only one. You can bring 25, 4 people can come together to do the supply. You know, and that is why we came up with the common facility centers, where SMEs do not have to invest solely in providing energy. They don't need to invest solely in even the equipment they need for their production.
According to the SMEDEN DG, the government is very aware of the displeasure and struggles of Nigerians and are working on initiatives to reduce the blow to SMEs.
You know, already government has announced that there is going to be single-digit interest rate facilities for SMEs. So a number of SMEs that have not been able to access funding will now have access to funds at single digits. We have the matching fund program, where we are using government money to reduce the interest rates. So when we match fund with banks, we use our own money to bring the interest rates down to single digits. So that it's part of government efforts to make sure that businesses are sustainable. I know there are also plans for the one-man businesses, the nano businesses, by way of grants and all that. These are some of the things that will be rolled out in the next few days. So, I mean, let us hope for the best.
Fasonya, while emphasizing the importance of SMEs to Nigeria's economy, encouraged Nigerian entrepreneurs to stay resilient, stating that their current struggles are temporary and the government is working hard to ensure stability for Nigerian businesses. Chairman Dabeng, Trust TV News, Abuja.
You're watching News Update on Trust TV. Coming up, Nguru residents set up barricades to avert flood. This and more after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is News Update on Trust TV. And here's a recap of our top stories. We brought you troops comb proscribed indigenous people of Biafra Eastern Security Network camp, arrest fighter, recover arms in Delta State. And court fixes July 25th for suspended Central Bank of Nigeria Governor Godwin Emefele's trial over illegal firearms possession. Now moving on to more stories, 11 local government areas of Niger State have been alerted by the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, to prepare for an impending flood this rainy season. Zainab Saidu, head of MENA operations of NEMA, in a statement she issued on Friday, said prediction revealed that Mokwa, Shiruru, Lavon and Borgu local government areas are in the category of high flood risk areas in the state and are expected to experience high flooding within the months of July to November. She further explained that Edati, Bako, Wushishi, Rafi, Mashegu, Magama and Agwara fell in the category of moderate flood risk areas. Zainab explained that Niger State had already started experiencing flood and windstorm in some of these areas, stressing the need for residents of the state to take serious precaution to avoid any further damage to properties and loss of lives. She advised residents of the affected local government areas to ensure that drainages are kept clean to avoid blockage of waterways and channels, saying that those living on flood plains and river banks should, as a matter of fact or urgency, relocate to higher and safer ground. Now, according to the Nigerian Meteorological Agency, Yobe State is among the 8 states that will experience flood during this year's rainy season. Last year, hundreds of people were reported to have been displaced in many parts of the state, including Nguru local government area, which was among the worst that was hit. In this report, Trust TV's correspondent Idris Jibrin reports that residents are now working round the clock to set up barricade ahead of the anticipated flood. His report.
Not until recently when they were rebuilt. These houses of Ongwar Barma in Guruloku government area of Yobe State were completely destroyed during the last year's flood disaster. Many residents were displaced, their farmlands and businesses wiped out.
So abaran gaskiya an fuskanci water flood.
Last year we had serious flood around this area. It has displaced and destroyed so many houses. In fact, I know about 6 houses around these areas were completely destroyed, and up to today some of them have not even started rebuilding their houses. As NIMET predicted another flood in the state, these youth, with the support of local government authorities, are working round the clock to set up a barricade that will prevent flash flood from advancing to their homes. Over the years, flood disaster used to disturb us around these places, and most of the people could not even stay in their houses. They had to look for another place to stay. Therefore, this work we are doing is very important, which we hope it will help us to prevent flood this year. Drainages are being rebuilt by government to complement the community's collective effort of flood prevention. We have set up barricades all over Guru, and these barricades, we believe it will help us stop the flood from advancing to Guru town and then to people's houses. In fact, where the reservoir is, where the water used to gather, we are trying to evacuate that water to make sure that it's not staying there. However, residents believe that unless pond's water is evacuated, the risk of being cut off is likely to be high. You see, the place where the water used to accumulate, I'm talking about the reservoir over there, is one of the major threats that we are having now. And we believe if the local government or the state government will evacuate this water and fill up that place, definitely flood will not disturb people around this area this year. Although not completely, but most of the slums areas in Guru are being barricaded to effectively stop flood attack this year. But there are growing concerns among residents over the recurrence of the 2022 experience. Idris Jibrin, Trust TV News, Yobe.
Activities marking the 2023 edition of the Climate Emergency Day have begun across the world. The day, which is usually marked on the 22nd of July, among other things, urges people to take part in a minute's silence to ponder on how they can make changes to protect the planet. Habibat Ajayi has more.
The first declaration of climate emergency was made by a local government in December 2016. Since then, over 2,100 local governments in 39 countries have made climate emergency declarations as of May 2022. An international coalition of researchers says the Earth's vital signs have worsened to the point that humanity is unequivocally facing a climate emergency. For this year's day, the climate clock will tick down below 6 years for the first time to drastically reduce fossil fuel emissions to below 1.5 degrees century warning.
Research has shown that countries with huge debt burdens, such as Nigeria, is very vulnerable to climate change impact. And that is why we are very slow to respond to climate disasters, like the flooding of 2022 and even the flooding that has already taken place. We actually don't have the money, truth be told. So we need someone who understands financial flows to be the Minister for Environment.
However, climate activists are calling for a capable hands to handle climate finance in Nigeria, which is said to be among the least detractors in carbon emission on the global scale.
The climate clock is saying to us that we have just 5 years left for us to act, for us to plan. If we are not able to take care of climate impact that are ravaging our country at the moment, what happens when temperature goes above 1.5 degrees? It means that, I don't want to use the word we are finished.
Stakeholders are called to begin implementation of viable policies to prevent future damage within the stipulated time.
Nigeria, we have made some effort and we must commend ourselves and also the government for the effort that we have made, but it is not sufficient because, like you see with the clock just in front of me, we don't have time. The science of climate change tells us that we have up to 2030 to take action. So what we need to do right now is to move away from policy formulation to policy implementation.
Experts believe it is still possible to hold global warming to relatively safe levels through global cooperation, investment, and big changes. Hence, governments are urged to rise to the issue of climate change to ensure a better world for its citizens. Abibat Ajayi, Trust TV, Abuja.
In business, the Naira on Friday depreciated against the dollar, exchanging at 777.82 Naira at the investors and exporters window. It lost by 1.26% when compared with the 768.16 Naira for which it exchanged for the dollar on Thursday. The open indicative rate closed at 779.58 Naira to the dollar on Friday. A spot exchange rate of 844 Naira to the dollar was the highest rate recorded within the day's trading before it settled at 777.82 Naira. The Naira sold for as low as 700 Naira to the dollar within the day's trading. A total of $77.99 million was traded at the investors and exporters window on Friday. And on a foreign scene, at least 16 civilians have been killed by rocket fire that hit their houses in war-torn Sudan's western Darfur region, a local lawyers' union said on Saturday. The vast region, already ravaged by brutal conflict in the early 2000s, has seen some of the worst of the violence since fighting erupted in mid-April between Sudan's rival generals vying for power. In the West Darfur capital of El Janina near Chad, snipers have reportedly been targeting residents from rooftops since fighting began, with tens of thousands of residents fleeing across the border. The war, which broke out in the capital Khartoum on April 15th and spread to Darfur later that month, has left at least 3,000 people dead across Sudan, according to a conservative estimate. Fighting in Darfur and RSF stronghold has recently concentrated around Nyala after brutal clashes in El Janina, where the United Nations had reported atrocities. Battles have also continued in and around Khartoum. Residents reported on Saturday First Army airstrikes on villages in the Al Jazeera state north, just south of the capital. And finally, in sport, Ajax and Fulham have reached an agreement over the transfer of Calvin Bassey. The total value of the deal is $21 million or million euros, I beg your pardon, according to a Dutch website. A resale passage or percentage is also included in the deal. Fulham expressed interest in the player last week and have moved quickly to beat Brighton and Hove Albion to the versatile defender. Bassey only joined Ajax from Scottish giant Rangers last summer. According to the website, he was initially not willing to join Fulham, but changed his mind after he was informed of Ajax's decision to sell him. He scored once in 25 league appearances for Ajax. And with that, we wrap up News Update on Trust TV. Do not forget to follow us across all our social media platforms, and you can join our live for more news, documentaries, and programs. I am Sumaya Abubakar. Thanks for watching.